How's it going? All right. So, I am finally in my office and hopefully no technical problems. I've finally had Ethernet run out to my office, and so now I should be directly connected to the router and no more technical issues. So please let me know if the audio freezes, if the video freezes, if anything weird happens, and yeah, we'll make sure we get that fixed up. All right. So it's Friday morning for me. I don't know where in the world everyone else is coming from. Where are you from, people in the chat? Alistair, hello once again. Yes. No, you're coming to us from Australia. Where else are people from? In Rome. Damn, 12:03. That's pretty late. San Francisco. What time is it over in San Fran? I'm really just stalling. Look, we've opened that up on this screen anyway, so you can join me. Let's go and post to Twitter that this is happening. So let's go grab the link from YouTube. However YouTube works, somewhere in YouTube, maybe my studio, and this would probably be content, maybe live. Let's see. Look at that. Perfect. So let's grab. Oh, that's not what I want. Give me that stream URL. All right, we'll copy that and come across to Twitter. And we will say we need something red. Some kind of red something. Maybe a rose. The rose is nice. We are live now. And for symmetry, we need another rose. Welcome to my my social media. You can't see this. Why do I keep talking about things when you can't actually see them? Let's put my face down there. All right, we are tweeting about the stream that you're watching. This is very meta. But since I was randomly rambling about what you couldn't see, here it is. So just sending out a tweet, get more people in here. And then I will also impersonate our friends over at Supabase. And let's tweet here too and say, "Ow, DevRel." So you don't think it's me. This is coming from Supabase. Our super cool DevRel, John Myers, is live now, showing us how to build a Cron server with Supabase. And no one needs to know that it was me all along. All right. So welcome to the stream. I can go back to this view if you just want to see a big version of my face. Yeah, welcome to the stream. We I don't know if you tuned in last week. It was an hour earlier last week. I'm still trying to work out when the best time is. I don't think I think this time works best for me because I get a little bit of time to get ready. If I try and do an hour earlier, it just ends up you just spend the start of the stream setting up my windows and getting everything ready because I can't get up earlier than 9 o'clock and get in here ready to go. Hey Swix, welcome to the stream. Lovely to see you. Where are you coming to us from? I'm assuming you are in Singapore. So it's 3:04 in San Francisco. That's awesome. Very cool that you have joined the stream. So this would be your Thursday afternoon. So I hope, yeah, I don't want to spoil anything about what happens Thursday night, but it's wild. You'll see soon. And Swix is over in Singapore. That's awesome. So it would be a little bit early in Singapore, right? It would be like 8 a.m., 7 a.m., 7 a.m. I should know this given that, the majority of people I work with are in Singapore. Let's go with that. All right. So, it's meant to be your booster shot day. Why is it not your booster shot day? 7 a.m. It's early to get up for a booster. I see. Working Pacific time, working through the middle of the night. So I guess you'd be getting towards your afternoon now. You're probably quite tired. I'd say, yeah, almost time for sleeping. All right. So if you didn't tune in last week or haven't watched the archive stream, I'll quickly just go through what we're working on so that it's so it kind of makes a bit of sense. So here I have my personal website. So this is johnmyers.io. And Swix is teaching a bunch of people about temporal because of the Series B. Congratulations! Yeah, I saw this yesterday. That's very exciting. If anyone on the stream has not checked out temporal, go and give it a follow because they have just got a massive Series B. And Swix is not allowed to be sick because he is the director of all of DevRel over there, something like that. And so, yeah, I can feel you on the not getting sick thing. I have my son is due to be born in about 3 weeks now. And this is our second child. And I committed to doing a course for Level Up Tutorials, which is awesome. The course is great. It's on Remix and Supabase. And so it's been awesome just learning so much about Remix to put the course together. But yeah, I can definitely feel you on I absolutely cannot get sick because there is a deadline for the course to be out, but also there's a deadline that there is a child on the way. And so as soon as he is born, I am just going to have to drop everything and walk away. So yeah, very, very much hoping don't get sick, get the course done, or at least get the bits that I need to record done. And yeah. The head of DevRel, a made-up title. Yes, we're all rocking our made-up titles. Excellent. All right. So in the last stream, we have my personal website here, and we have a collection of articles that I've written. It's an embarrassingly small list. It should definitely be longer. It will be longer soon. But I spent too much time playing with the tech behind my blog instead of actually blogging. But yeah, lots more articles coming soon, surely. So all of these articles are coming in from my Notion account, a collection of Notion pages that I have. So this is a Notion board that I keep with all of the different bits of content that I want to create. And so if you want spoilers, here are all the blogs that are coming up soon. But yeah, once I get around to actually writing them, maybe that's what I should do for the stream. Maybe I should just make it oh, right, you can't see my screen. I'm so bad at changing the screen so you can actually see what I am rambling about. So please call me out if that happens over and over and over again. So yes, thank you for shouting that one out. All right, so yeah, this is my personal site, johnmyers.io. I have a collection of blogs that I've written, and then yeah, these are all coming in from the Notion API. And so I use Notion as a kind of project management tool for all of the different blogs that I want to write, or all the bits of content that I want to create. And so we have, these are the ones that I'll probably publish soon. And then this is just, an endless backlog of things that I will never actually probably get to. But yeah, if I have a blog, so let's say this is a blog that I've just published. And so it's got, some categories, tags, description, and then we've got a little bit of markdown here. If I was to take this blog and move it over into the published column, and then I come back to my personal blog, if I refresh this, nothing changes because we're using incremental static regeneration with Next.js and Vercel. And so basically this kicks off a new build of this page now that I've requested it. And there's I think the timeout on that is about a minute. So basically, everyone who requests it for the next minute once it's rebuilt a new version. So this is my new blog. And so it's rebuilt this static page, and now everyone will get this static page for the next minute every time they refresh. And then after a minute, if they refresh, it will go and kick off a new build. So we have, this is my new blog, and you'll see I've got that markdown there. And so this is how I can publish articles to my personal blog. And then if I was like, ooh, whoops, made a mistake, don't actually want that to be published, I can bring it back into this column and I can open it up and keep working on it. And then this will probably be on my page for a little bit because we need to wait a minute for it to be able to revalidate this content. But yeah, this is the way that I can publish all of the blogs that I'm working on. So I can use Notion as not only a place where I can author content, so where I can actually write my blogs, but I'm also using it as a project management tool to keep a track of all of my thoughts. And then I'm also using it as a publishing pipeline when I do put it into the published column, so it automatically gets published to my blog. I probably should maybe put together a video at some point doing building this part out, because I think this is super cool and was something that I spent way too much time thinking about and way too much time implementing. Probably is something that I should share. But yeah, again, another piece of content that maybe I'll get to one day if I have the time. Alistair is shouting out that I should totally integrate Next.js new on-demand incremental static regeneration. So that is a brand new thing that I think just got announced like today or last night. So I know it's embarrassing that I haven't had a chance to implement it in my site yet, but yeah, Next.js is now offering on-demand incremental static regeneration, so where you can on demand choose to rebuild a particular page or a particular route. So yes, if I had that, that would get around my problem here where I have invalid data on my site for a long amount of time, and I just can't get rid of it. So yes, you would not need to wait for the revalidation to happen. I can basically just wipe out that 60 seconds. And if we come back to my site and refresh again, I'd say we're probably outside that 60 seconds. I think it's 60 seconds. Maybe it's longer. Probably should be longer. Probably not going to publish. Like the freshness of my site probably doesn't need to be that short. But it definitely does for when I'm doing streams like this. So yes. Yes, this is a very interesting thing that Alistair is talking about. So could you use Supabase function hooks to call an API endpoint to revalidate your page? You definitely could. And so this is something that, yeah, was making me pretty excited about the new on-demand stuff. It's actually something that I was thinking about for another set of videos that I'm about to record. I'll probably put it out as a blog series first. And then look at doing a video series. But yeah, Supabase function hooks are a very interesting feature because you can use them to invalidate caches. And so essentially that's what this incremental static regeneration stuff is doing, or any kind of static generation of your page. It's essentially just like a really, really strong cache where you're building that page once, and then you're caching it and just serving it until the next time that you rebuild that page. And so, yeah, something that is a problem there is that then you don't know when to rebuild those static assets. And so you don't know when that content has actually changed and when you need to basically rebuild that static asset. And so if you were to use function hooks, then this, for anyone who's, sorry, I probably should have jumped into an explanation. Function hooks in Supabase are a way for you to basically call an API endpoint anytime that data in your database changes. So you can subscribe to changes on a particular table. So let's say I have my content table, which is what we're building out for this stream. And so anytime content or anytime rows in my content table change, I can call an API endpoint. And so if that API endpoint was to invalidate my cache or do something like rebuild my static page, then I could do that on demand, meaning that I can have the most fresh static content possible. So I can have a static page, and then as soon as I make a change in my database, it tells the Next.js server or Vercel or wherever that is hosted to go and rebuild that site. So this is actually something that I'm looking at doing in a series about Cloudflare workers. And so, yeah, Vercel, well, Next.js API routes or edge functions at least are just a wrapper around Cloudflare workers. And so, yeah, the one thing that you get if you go directly to Cloudflare workers over Vercel is the ability to tie into something called KV storage, which is like a cache that exists in Cloudflare. And so you can cache all of your data at the edge. So the first time you request it from Supabase, which is obviously going to be like a centralized database, that database is hosted at one region. If you request your data from Supabase, the first time you could write that to a KV cache in your Cloudflare worker. And then the next time you request that data, you could just read from KV, which is like a cache that's local to that CDN node. Anyway, getting way off track here. But the point is, if we were to do that, we could use function hooks to be able to invalidate that KV storage cache and basically tell the Cloudflare worker it needs to go back to that origin server for Supabase to get fresh data. Now, that is definitely a series that's coming very soon that I've already started kind of hinting towards and getting people excited about on Twitter, but I actually haven't created any content yet. So I definitely need to get on the creating content side instead of the marketing and talking about it and getting people excited side. But yes, function hooks, super powerful way to deal with caching and invalidating caches. Okay, so hopefully we've stalled long enough that this is my blog. This is my new blog has disappeared. So awesome. We've got back to our fresh content where we do not have this blog because it's no longer published. Awesome. Okay, so in the last stream, we basically just went through a bunch of plumbing. So if I open this up, actually I can open it up slightly bigger in my Teach profile. And this will open somewhere and we can full screen it. Actually, how's my resolution looking? Is it a bit too small? I might make it, I might bring it down a little bit. Let's go 720. And that will make this maybe a little bit clearer. Hopefully that code looks all right. Yeah, this is looking a little bit better. So hopefully that's an okay resolution for everyone. All right, so yeah, in the last video, in the last stream, we were looking at building this ingest Notion to Supabase function or serverless route. So API route, serverless function. God, there's so many names. Okay, so it looks a little bit intimidating if we scroll through it because it's just a whole bunch of commented broken code because we didn't actually get it to a point where it was working in the last stream. I wonder if I can move my. I went through this last time, didn't I? Maybe I could just do. No, that's too much. That's okay. All right. How about we go with? I hate that background though. Yeah. All right. Let's just go with. I want you to be able to see my beautiful face. You know, I put so much work into like, looking presentable today. I'm wearing a shirt with like not a stretched neck, so it looks nice on the camera. I don't want to lose that. Can we just turn off the background? Yeah. Okay. So hopefully that looks all right. I know I just changed the resolution so that you could actually see what's going on and then basically made it smaller again, but hopefully that looks all right. Let me know if you can't read it. All right. So yeah, in the last video, we started setting up this function where we create a Notion client. So this is how we grab data out of our Notion API. Or how we use the Notion API to grab it out of that big list of content that I was showing you earlier. We then have, this basically goes and gets all of the articles. So it's not actually articles, it's all the bits of content. And so yeah, we're also talking through that there are conceptually 3 different types of content on this landing page. So this one here is an article series. So you'll see that this has a collection of articles that belong to the overall series. This one, even though there is no visual hint, I need to work on the design of this page a little bit. But this is actually a link out to Egghead where I wrote this article, and so there's no kind of visual hint that that's going off to another site. But then this is an individual piece of content, so this doesn't belong to a series. So there are kind of 3 conceptual pieces here. There is an article series, there is an external article, and then there is just an article, an individual article. And so in our collection here, this one is grabbing all pieces of content. So whether it belongs to a series, whether it's individual, or whether it links off to another page, this is grabbing all of those bits of data, which is why, we need to do some weird transforming down here, but we'll have a look at that in a second. So then we also want to grab all of the high-level series. So yeah, each of these, if I come back here, each of these are just individual pieces of content. But then we also have, I can bring up my menu, we also have different series. So this is an article series, so a series of different articles that are related to each other. And then this is a series of videos that are related to each other. So that this is grabbing all of those series, so that article series and that video series. And this is grabbing all of the bits of content that are either related to one of those series, link off to another external site, or are just an individual piece of content. Yes, I made it overly complex and complicated, and it's great trying to explain it now. Sorry. All right, so we have here we're just like transforming what we get back for a series. So we're just pulling out the deep bits of data and basically turning it into this structure. So it's now an array of just an ID, a title, a slug, a description, a publish date, a category, and then MDX. We're just setting to a description at the moment, like we're just setting it to the same thing as our description. But that's because we haven't dealt with our MDX stuff yet. And so we'll do that. We'll do that later. But for now, it's a required field in the database. And so we're just putting in nonsense data, which you should always do. If you have a required field in a database, you should always just be like, well, I don't want to do that yet. So I'll just fill it with nonsense. That's fine. That's a great idea. Cool. So then we have it in a nice structure, and each of these columns then map to, I'm just going to move these around because otherwise you're just going to have to keep seeing my terminal each time. Cool. So so then this will now map to our Supabase database. So this is what we were building out in the last stream. And so we have a series, and this has an ID created at, title, publish date, category, description, MDX, and slug. And then content has very similar fields, but then we also have a link, a series ID, and a position in series. So the link is only there if it links off to an external page. The series ID is only there if it belongs to a series. And then the position in series is obviously only there if it is a series. Cool. So this puts it in a nice shape. The problem is, because of exactly what I just went through, transforming the one where we just get all the bits of content, we have essentially like 6 or maybe 7 different types of content. So there's the category can be, well, maybe I'll just show you here. If we go back to individual, each of these can have a category that is either an article, a series article, a video, a series video, a video link, an article link, a video course link, or whatever test is. Let's just delete that because that's going to cause problems later. Cool. So we just have an article, a series article, a video, a series video, a link, a video link, article link, and a video course link. So these are the different bits of content and we need to, they have slightly different shapes. Yeah, and so these ones will have URLs to what they link off to, and then these, the ones that exist within a series, so the series video, series article, they will have a series and then the position of which they are in that series, whether they're the first or second or third article. All right, so we got to a point where we had implemented an article. So this is the category for type article. It has an ID, title, slug, description, publish date, category, MDX. And then we were looking at doing the series article, but we wanted to have a look at the shape of the actual, of what we get back from Notion. And so, yeah, I commented out this. I just returned the object so we could see what the object was, and then I was just filtering out only things that are series articles, so we can see what is the shape of a series article. The bit that I forgot to do was comment this out, yeah, so that we didn't change the shape of it and then try and access a field that didn't actually exist. Anyway, that's what this is. I added myself a little comment because I realized right after the stream what I had done, and so I've now explained that. All right. So yeah, let's quickly work through transforming the rest of these different category types, and then we can jump into hopefully building a cron server, because it would suck if we didn't get to that. Yeah, so then as a response to this, I'm just sending back our transformed content so that I can yeah, see what shape our piece of content is in. So if I come over to here, so this is just running locally, and if I go to /API/ingest Notion to Supabase, we get an error because I probably didn't start my development server again. So let's npm run dev. And then if we come back here, we should see this is the shape of a series article. So I can collapse all, and we can see that there are 5 series articles. Oh, sorry, 6, right? Yep, I can program, I can computer. Yeah, there are 6 pieces of content, which makes sense because I only have one. If I go back to series, I only have one article series, and this has 6 articles that belong to it. So essentially what we're getting back are these 6 articles which belong to this series. So if we have a look at the shape of one of these, so we'll be getting back the same data for like ID and publish date, description, status, blah, 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 blah. But what we wanted to look at was, because this belongs to a series, what shape is the series in? So if we look at series, and then we open up relation, this is an array where we have index 0, and then that gives us the ID of the series that it belongs to. And so this is a property that we definitely want to pull out. So here we can say if category equals series article, then we want to return the ID, the title, the slug, the description, the publish date, the category, and the MDX. So this is all the same as an article. But then we need to grab our series ID. And so that was from c.properties was what we were just looking at, and then .series. And then inside series, we had relation, which was our array. So we can say .relation, and we only care about index 0 because this is only going to be related to one series article. And then inside that, we have an ID. So we can say .id. And then because this is a series, it also has a position in series, which is probably going to be c.properties.something. And so let's have a look over here. We've got, well, actually, yeah, it's just .properties.position in series. And then inside that, we have .number. And this is, yeah, this is another reason that we're moving away from using the Notion API, is it's just so complicated getting out data again. And so if we move it over to something like Supabase, because we have those relationships between the different series and the different individual articles or individual pieces of content, it just makes querying so much simpler, and also reduces the number of times that we need to do round trips back to the API to request more data, because we can just send one big request that gives us everything that we need. Anyway, we want to go into, so since this has spaces in it, we need to access it like this, and we say position in series, and then I think it was dot number. And let's have a look. Was it position in series, and then dot number gives us the number of its position within the series that it belongs to. Cool. So that should be all we need for a series article. And so now if we, yeah, this is going to break again because we're changing the shape. So anyway, let's just say that will work when we insert it into the database, and we can confirm later. But let's comment this out now, and we will look at the next piece of content. So the next one would be a video, and so if we have a look at one of our existing videos, so this is in individual and in our published. I'm sure there's a much better way to get to this, but let's have a look. That one's an article, and well, this one will be, no, that's a series video. I know this. I can do this. All right, this is the one we just looked at. It is. All right, let's look for another one called simple caching with local storage. So this will be our video version. So you'll see that our video has a published date, a category, a description, and then it does actually link off to a YouTube. And so if we come back to our code here, so a video will have all of these bits, but then rather than a series and a position in series, this will have a URL. Did we call it URL or did we call it link? We called it link. All right. So this will go off to a link, and that link will probably be c.properties. I'm going to guess .link or .url, but let's have a look. So again, we can comment this out. We can change this down here to a video to see what we get back. And then if we rerun our function over here, we should now get back a video somewhere. It will say, all right, well, let's just collapse all these. And let's just trust we got back our videos. And if we open this up and have a look at properties and category and select, God, so deep. All right, and then video. Cool. Yeah, so if we want to look at what our link structure looks like, we've got our link. So link with a capital L, and then URL is the actual URL that we want to point to. So here, if I uncomment this, a video has a link, which goes off to link.url. And then all the rest should be all good for video. Yeah, there's no other bits of data. Yeah, cool. And so now let's assume that is all good, and we will grab I guess a series video, and then we will go and refresh this page and collapse all these and have a look at index 0. We just to make sure we have a series video. Awesome. And so now we want to provide a link, a series, and a position in series. So this is kind of a combination of the last two. So this looks like this. If we copy our series article down here, and we make this a series video, and we can comment it out as well. All right, this is a series video. So it's got all of these bits, and then it also has the link from the previous one. So we can just copy that from here and paste it here. And we now have a series video. What else do we have? If we look at our different types of content, so we've done article, we've done series article, we've done video, we've done series video. So we've just got our links now. So video link, article link, and video course link. I don't think there was a difference between video link and video course link. So we'll treat them the same. And I guess it's just, I don't think there needs to be a distinction there, but for some reason I've made them distinct. So I'm sure there was a reason. I was probably thinking smartly at one point. All right, let's comment out this series video, and let's look at what a video link looks like. And so if we come over here, refresh, and then collapse, we can see we have one link off to somewhere, and we're linking off to Cloudflare. So this is a video that I did with Cloudflare. And so this one is a link. So it doesn't have, it does have a series. But that's empty. And position in series? Yeah, right. So they're just not confusing. Okay. So this looks like it's the same shape as a video, but let's just treat it differently in case there's something different about it later. All right, so we'll copy another one of these. God, this is going to get very ugly having all these different things, but we just need to do this once in this one file, and then this file can be responsible for all of that translation logic. So taking all that stuff from Notion and putting all of it into Supabase. So if this one is going to be a video link, we want all this stuff, but we don't care about the position in the series. And then we can, I think that's all we need to do for that one. And then, actually, do we even need all that stuff? Anyway, yeah, we do. Yeah, it needs blah, 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 blah. I don't know, it actually does need a slug. And if we come across to here, I think I preempted this exact problem. And if we have a look at our slug field, because this slug is referring to like a local resource, I've left this as allow nullable. So this means that this is not actually required, because it doesn't make sense for us to go to like /link/ whatever, like that doesn't exist on my page. We just link directly off to the URL. So my point is, we probably don't need a slug. So we need an ID, we need a title, we need a description to show where this link goes off to. We need when it was published, the category that it is, MDX. We'll look at whether we need MDX later, but we definitely need that link. All right, cool. So we have a video link. We then probably want an article link, because this will probably be very similar. In fact, it'll be exactly the same. So we have an ID, a title, a description, publish date, category, MDX, and a link. And then the last one was that video course link, which is definitely going to be exactly the same as this. So really, I mean, all of these links really are going to be the same. So let's not treat them as three completely different things and have three blocks of exactly the same stuff. Let's take this category equals video link, and let's say if the category equals video link, or it equals, this should be article link, or it equals our video course link, and we want to do this stuff. And then we can just get rid of all of this. And now, if we don't return C here, and we get rid of our filter, and we uncomment all of these bits, so all these different types of categories that we need to change the shape slightly for, we should be able to save this. And then when we refresh our API route here, we should get all of our content in the right shape. So if we collapse all, and then have a look at one of these, we've now just got this very clean ID, title, description, publish date, category, MDX, and link. And if we open up a different one, we might have a slightly different shape, or a slightly different shape on this one. yeah, so this is a series article, and so it links to that series, and it also has its position. Cool. All right, so that's looking pretty good. So that should now be able to map into our columns in our content table. The only thing I wanted to check, I want to make sure this series ID is, well, it is nullable because we have, no, oh yeah, of course, yeah, because we will have series that don't have IDs. That makes sense. Okay, so over in our series, this currently has our two, our video series and our article series in it. But let's test that everything is working from that, that script. So let's delete all of the rows in our series table. And so because some of our content will be any of our series articles or series videos will have a series ID associated with them, we will need to populate the series table so that those IDs are there before we populate the bits of content. So I'll delete these as well. And then let's have a look at our code here. So we're transforming it all into the right shape, but then we're not actually doing anything in the Supabase land. So if I uncomment this, yeah, all we're doing here is we're saying we want to insert all of the transformed series objects into our series table in Supabase, and then we want to insert all of our transformed content into our content table. And the reason that we're using upsert here is because if we were just trying to insert these, the first time this script runs, it will go and insert all of them into the database. But the second time it tries to run, it will get an ID clash. And so it won't actually insert that record. So that might sound like a good idea if we weren't going to make any changes to our content. Like it doesn't make sense doing that extra work if nothing's changed. But since we want to be able to still edit our content even when it has been published, so I might want to say, well, I need to change the SEO description of this piece of content. I want to be able to change that, and then that still be picked up as a change and written to my Supabase database. And so we're using upsert, which will try to first insert the record. And if it can insert it, then it creates a new record. Otherwise, if it can't insert it because that ID already exists, then it will update it instead. So it'll basically update the row that has that same ID, and it will and it will update all of the other fields. Might actually need to provide it an extra value to match on, but yeah, let's see what happens here. So we've got our data, and let's also pull out our error, and this can be our series error. And then we've got our content data, and we'll pull this error out as our content error. And this is just because we want to know if we get an error. So if we have a series error, if we have a series error, then we want to console.log our series error.message. And then we want to do the same thing instead of this console log here. We would like to, if we have a content error, so if we had a problem inserting our content and then we want to print that message out, we can then, I guess we would want to see our series data if we have it, and we would want to see our content data if we have it. So that's what we're going to actually return from this API route. And now, not that way, if we come to our API route here and we refresh, awesome, we're seeing series data, so it looks like things have worked. But we're not seeing content data. So if I just collapse these so we can see, our series data is set to an array of series that we were able to insert into the database, but content data is set to null. So something has happened when we're trying to insert our content data. I'm just going to blindly try something because it was something that just caught my eye before that we're calling upsert, but this upsert might need to know and something that it needs to match on, right? You know what? We should look at the documentation. So Supabase upsert, and so that's if we're passing in some stuff. And okay, so all of these just have an upsert. Maybe we need to tell it what it might conflict on based on the column pass to into on conflict. Okay, so maybe we can try that. So we are upserting, and then we would like, so that's all about data that we're upsetting. That's our array of series objects. And then we want to say on conflict of ID. And so is that right? Yeah, on conflict. And then we give it a column. So if this column conflicts, then we want to update it. Otherwise, we want to insert it. I'm assuming that's what that means. So let's give it a go on content data as well. So now if I come over to this one and refresh, we should hopefully see that we have content data. No, we still don't have content data. Okay, so something is going on here. We're trying to upsert. Let's see if we have any logs in the database about what went wrong. So if we come over to settings and then logs, this is going to grab all of our recent logs, and it's saying my password authentication failed for some reason. But this doesn't look like it's displaying anything about, let's just refresh. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's displaying anything about having a problem inserting or updating our records. And so, okay. Yeah, so it seems to, okay, let's have a look at our API logs. And we've got our post, which we tried to send across some stuff. And it's given us a 400 because something, I guess, is in the wrong shape. Cool. So this would make sense if this was our request for writing our series data. And then this, yeah, and that is what it is. So here we can see we're going to /res/v1/series. So that's writing correctly. And then the other one is getting a 400 error. So does this tell us what the error is though? This is all very cryptic. We've got headers. So the response came back with headers that is saying nothing, just that it is a status code 400. Okay. So, and our other one, our request is going across. Okay, so for some reason, our content query here, so when we're saying from content, upsert these values, something is in the wrong shape, and so it's getting denied at the at this API level. So this is using Postgres, Postgres with a T, which is what gives us an interface, like an API interface to talk to our database. So this is what Supabase uses behind the scenes. And this is getting rejected at this point because we're not providing the right information. So I guess it never hits our database, so we don't actually have a database error to look at. Okay, so that's very cryptic and gives us not very much to go on. But if we, so our transformed content is, that was in the right shape. That was a big array. And then maybe on conflict, if we have a look in our documentation here, we have count, we have our on conflict. And if we want to upsert many rows, we pass just an array, which is what we're doing. So we're using this version. That's right, we're getting our error here. And so this error should be printed out to the terminal. So this is saying all object keys must match. Why would that be? All object keys. So this is maybe saying that something, that's keys though, so it must be the ID. So what else do we have to play with? We've got on conflict, which I'm assuming would just be the ID by default. Anyway, we have ignored duplicates, which we don't really want to do because then it will just turn it into an insert. So I might look into this later because, yeah, one way that we can get around it, which shouldn't really be a way to get around it, but we can use insert. And then the deprecated way of doing an upsert is using insert and then passing this an object with upsert set to true. And so this is giving us a cross through here to say, what's it saying? Yeah, it's telling us to use upsert instead because this has been marked as deprecated. But for now, if I run this query, so if I refresh my application here, and we collapse this down, you'll see that we've now got our series data, which is our big array, our very small array of our video series and then our article series. And then in our content, we have all of the bits of content that we've inserted into the database. And so now if we come over to our database here and we have a look at our tables, if we look at our series, we should now have 2. And if we look at content, we can go through and count all of these, but down here it gives us a nice summary that we have 47 records. And then if we refresh this API route again, and then refresh it again, so this is running that upsert query over and over again, and then we come back here and refresh, we should see that we still have 47 records. So fingers crossed, nothing weird happened. 47 records. Awesome. So this is working correctly. And so this API route, the thing that's cool is this is now, if you want to use databasey terms, I think it's a databasey term. Anyway, this is now idempotent. And so something being idempotent means that it can be run over and over and over again and not destroy the data. So as in this is safe to run over and over and over and over again, and it will either insert the values, it will update the values, or it will just leave them alone if there's nothing to actually change. Cool. So we now have an API route that anytime we run that API route, we can take all of the data from our Notion database and write it into our Supabase database in the right shape. Cool. So now we can actually look at running this on a cron schedule. And so this is an awesome article that Paul Copplestone, our CEO and co-founder, wrote about using Postgres, well, not just using Postgres as a cron server, using Supabase specifically as a cron server. And so, yeah, if you want to come back to this later, there's a blog posted on the supabase.com blog, and it basically goes through a whole bunch about what a cron server is and why we can use Postgres to do this, which is awesome. So we can enable the extension. So this is how you would do it as if you wanted to enable it directly from SQL. But if we have a look at our Supabase database, if we go to database and then go to extensions, we should be able to see this in a more visual way. So these are the already enabled extensions for Supabase. And then we have a whole bunch more here. And so maybe I'll just search for this one. So we'll search for Cron, and then you'll see we have PG Cron. So if I enable this here and confirm that I would like to turn on the PG Cron extension, if I now go back to my functions here, yeah, awesome. So this has added a whole bunch of stuff. So it's added a new schema for Cron, which is going to keep a track of all of the different things that are related to my Cron server. It's got schedules and different things that we can now use to set up our jobs. And so if I come over here, I can also, if you are curious to dig a little bit deeper, you can come over to the table editor. You can open up the cron schema, and then we can have a look at what our job table actually is. So this job table is where we're going to insert new jobs that we want to be performed on a schedule. So a job is a Postgres function. And so, we just need to tell it which Postgres function we would like to call and how frequently we would like to call it. Cool. So if we come back to this article, make sure there's nothing else we need to set up. I believe we already have I believe the cron schema already has the right permissions and privileges set up, but we'll see that in a second. The next thing we want to do is we want to be able to make a HTTP request to that API endpoint. So this API endpoint here, so /API/ingest Notion to Supabase, we're going to want to make a request to this in our cron job. And in order to do that, we need to use the HTTP extension. So again, we can go to database and then to extensions, and we can turn on HTTP. And we'll confirm that one. And HTTP is now on. Awesome. And so we've done this bit. So now we can call an API route like this. So we can say, we can use a select statement in a Postgres function to say we would like to select whatever we want from what comes back, but we want to use the HTTP_get function. And so this is going to allow us to make a GET request to an API route. So for example, we could make a GET request to this API route. So we can set this up. So we could put this in a separate function, or we could just set it up on our cron schedule directly. So this could be its own separate function, but just to, I guess, keep things a little bit more simple, let's just do it all in our cron schedule. So let's just copy this and actually just thinking, because we need this URL, we need a live URL, we probably need to push up these changes to Vercel so that we have a live URL to point our webhook to. So we are going to come over to our terminal. We're going to see what's actually changed. So what did we change in pages/blog/index? Well, I can actually say git add -p, I think, which I think I have aliased to gap. So git add and then patch. So we can see each change that we're actually committing, just because this will commit to my live site. And so I don't want to break my live site. So anyway, yeah, we can step through each change. So yes, we want to install Supabase.js, and this is just our package lock. So we want to add all of our package lock. And yes, that's all good. So now this is what we have changed. Oh yeah, so this is our big whole, our new API route. So we definitely want that to be in there. And the next chunk, which it is for some reason struggling to read, is inside our get static props. Yeah, right. So we've just added an example of what it's going to be like selecting from Supabase. So we don't actually need to commit that now. We do need our client to be able to create our Supabase instance, and awesome. Okay, cool. So we have staged our package JSON, our package lock, that new API route, and then our utils file to be able to create a Supabase client. And we've left out the changes that we've made to our actual website because we don't need those yet. Okay, so I'm going to git commit add ingest function. Let's say add Notion API to Supabase ingest function. And now we can push this up. We are on a different branch. So this is our Supabase stream branch. So let's push that up. Oh, actually, that will probably give us a preview URL. So we wouldn't even need to, we potentially wouldn't even need to merge this into the main code base. Let's see how wonderful Vercel is and how much they have done for us so we don't need to do it ourselves. So I'm going to open this up directly from here so we can open up a pull request to Supabase stream. And this is going to open up in this version of Firefox. Cool. And so this is going, well, maybe we'll keep working on this. So this can be our ongoing PR to add, I guess it'll be add Supabase to blog. Yeah, let's just do that. And comments, yeah, well, we need obviously a if. And how do I, there we go. We definitely need, look at all these wonderful GIFs I've searched for before for mic drops. What are we doing here? Let's see what comes up for Supabase. No GIFs found. What about Super? Yeah, we could probably go with Super Bowl meme, couldn't we? Given that it was just a couple of days ago. I mean, that's beautiful right there. Let's copy that one. How do you even copy from here? Maybe an embed? No, I don't really want that. How do I do it? No, don't want that. Woof. Maybe share. That sounds right. Copy GIF link. GIF link. That's right. Copy the GIF link. All right. And we want this to be this. And obviously we want to provide some alt text here because it's very important that people know that this is a Super Bowl meme. And if we preview this, see that we have our Super Bowl meme giving so much context to people. Let's create our pull request. And hopefully this is going to go off and do some Vercel magic for us. Is it going to do that? Oh yeah, it looks like it is potentially doing some Supabase magic for us, and it has. Okay, cool. So if I go to /API/ I forget what it was called, ingest, well, maybe we'll take this across to our regular browser. And if we go like that, and we grab our /ingest Notion to Supabase function, we should be able to run this on this live URL. And this should go and grab all of our, okay, it's given us null and null. And I believe this will be because we don't have environment variables set up, do we? Okay. Does it tell us that? Security policy? No, that's not right. This thing, no, it's probably not going to tell us. It's trying to get some data from Supabase, right? So it doesn't have our Supabase stuff. All right, so I'm going to come across here And we want to go over to Vercel just so you can see what I'm doing, and then I'll enter the actual. Oh man, I need to fix that. Maybe this will actually fix that. In fact, this probably will fix that because we. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So we want to add some environment variables. So if we come across to settings and then our environment variables here, we have different environment variables that we can add for different environments. And so if we add these will be available on our preview branch, which is great. So I'm going to, well, what I am going to be creating is if I come to my code somewhere, in Supabase, in our utils file, I'm grabbing this next underscore public Supabase URL. And so I can show you where I'm grabbing this from. So if I paste this in here, this one is not a secret. It's open in my other window. All right, so we can get this by going to settings and then API, and then this is going to be our URL here. And so I'm going to paste this here and click add. And another environment variable exists with the same name. Okay, I must have set this up when I was testing whether this would work. Okay, so I'm going to edit this one. I'm going to give it this URL. And we're going to save. I'm also going to update the key. And so this one is okay for it to be seen as well, because this is our anon key. So if I paste this in here and click save, that should be all good. But the one that I can't show you is this Supabase service key. I can show you where it comes from though, because you won't be able to see all of it. If we, so this is our service role here. So anytime we're performing an action on behalf of the server rather than on behalf of a user, we will use this key, because this key has the ability to bypass row level security. And this says never share it publicly. So never click reveal on a live stream. That's a bad idea. But yeah, you only get that much of it, so it's fine. I'm going to take this off screen. Hopefully you can't see this other screen. Surely if you can, you'll let me know. Let's go to service key and edit, and we'll dump in this one and we'll click save, and then we will, yeah, that's probably being saved. It's probably fine. All right. And so now we have our, wherever I put it, Supabase service key saved into Vercel. So annoyingly, because our environment variables have changed, and some of them are used with the next underscore public underscore bit, we will need to redeploy our branch. So here we have our preview branch. So this is the one where we're adding add Notion API to Supabase ingest function. So yeah, this is the one that we just deployed. Annoyingly, we are going to have to redeploy it. So if we click these dots and say redeploy, and we're just going to redeploy it from scratch without using the existing build cache. And then this is going to go off and do that. And then we'll be able to check whether it worked. So how's the chat going? What's going on, chat? What's everyone doing? Is this a helpful thing to be going through? Is it interesting seeing this? The reason that I wanted to focus on building something different with Supabase is that I think there are a lot of tutorials out there that just go through, this is how you get up and running with Next.js and Supabase. This is how you get up and running with Notion, not Notion. This is how you get up and running with Remix. And so, yeah, there isn't as many resources that are like, this is how you refactor an existing code base to use this new thing. And so this, I'm hoping that stepping through this series gives you a bit of an understanding as to how you would refactor something that already exists. So we're already using the Notion API to host all of our content and to pull that into our application. And so I'm trying to step through how we would use Supabase side by side with an existing system. So yeah, hopefully this is helpful. I'm going to copy this URL here. So we'll see this is successfully deployed. And I'm going to come back over to here. And I hope it is the same URL, because that would be silly if it gave me a different one. It is a different one, which actually makes complete sense, right? Because it is it's a different preview. It's a different version. Hang on, let's go visit this website. Does it give us the same thing? Khop. Yep. Okay. Cool. All right. So if we run this now, so this will be our new version of our ingest function. Awesome. So that was the problem. Was it was trying to use environment variables that that shouldn't have been there, but were there because I'd used this for a different example. So yeah. So we just needed to update those environment variables to point to our current instance for our John Myers blog project here. And now we can ingest all of those records. So again, this API route is going to Notion, getting all of the series data, all of the individual article data, individual content data, and then writing that to Supabase. Cool. So now we have a URL that our cron server can point to. So if we come back here, this is going to be the command that we're going to run. So we could just copy this from here, come across to, what am I doing? Coming across to Supabase. And we want to open up our SQL editor here. We want to create a new query, and we could even give this query a name. We could say this is all about adding a cron job. If we want to add a cron job, this is what we do. We select from cron.schedule. And so this is going to allow us to set up a new job that's going to run on a cron schedule. So then we want to give it a name. And so this name is going to be ingest Notion API data. We can then select how often this is going to run. So this is an interesting thing. How often do we want this to run? Every minute is probably a bit much, but let's leave it every minute just so that we can see that it is running. And then, yeah, and then in the future, yeah, we can make it less frequent. But yeah, let's leave it as every minute for now so we don't have to wait around too long. We can select back our status from calling this HTTP_post. So this is sending a post request to our API route. And so the API route that we want to send a request to is this one. And so we will put that here. And so, yeah, this is the webhook that it will send a request to. We then have a payload. So because we're sending a post request here, we can also send some data through in the body. So this is something that we will do. Maybe this is something that I will set up eventually, because right now anyone can navigate to this. Actually, yeah, don't really think that's a problem. If you're in the chat, maybe don't be a jerk and set up a constantly running cron job that rebuilds my application every second and slowly make me pay for Notion API and Supabase. But as long as no one does that, it doesn't really matter if this is public. I think that's fine. So in that case, we can simplify this a little bit by just making a GET request. So we just need to send a GET request to this URL. Cool. That's much simpler. Looks much less intimidating, except for all of this stuff. But this will be replaced. This whole thing here will eventually be replaced with just johnmyers.io. Yeah. Anyway, right now we've got this preview so that we can test that it's working. So this should be all we need to do. So now if we run this function, we should see down the bottom here that it's been set up with the ID of 1. So we now have this job. And so I can actually show you how we select jobs as well. So if we want to select existing jobs, and I bet this is in the article because it makes sense as the very next thing that we would want to do. So this is how we schedule everything. And yeah, if we select star from cron.job, not that, here, if we go select star from cron.job, then we will be able to see all of the information about our new job. So it's on this cron schedule running every minute. And then this is the command that it's going to execute. Yeah, and so we have all of that. Cool. And so then if we did want to delete our job, so if we wanted to, I'm assuming we could, I'm assuming we could update an existing job if we wanted to change it. So if we wanted to change like what the actual command that it's running is, then we could. But let's just say that we wanted to unschedule it. So this will delete the cron job so it stops running. So I'll create another query here and give it a sensible name of remove cron job. And we'll save that. We'll paste this in here, but the actual name of this is going to be ingest Notion API data. So we can copy that from here and put it on our remove like that. And then if we wanted to remove this job, well, yeah, I can just show you because we can just add it again. So we can remove this job and we'll see that unschedule is set to true. So that's happened. That's run successfully. So now if I want to select all of my cron jobs, I should see that no rows were returned. So we don't have any cron jobs existing at the moment. So then if I wanted to add that back in, I could just run this one again. And so this is why it's really helpful having these kinds of named SQL snippets that are related to your project, because they're stored in the Supabase dashboard. And so you can always come back to them and just run whichever one you would like to run. And so, yeah, gives us a really quick way to do some of these tasks that we might want to do repetitively, like like adding a new cron job, removing it, or selecting existing cron jobs. And so we can see that we just have that one cron job there, which is running every minute. And so now if I were to come back to this other browser to look at my instance for Vercel here, I'm assuming I would be able to open up functions for my API ingest Notion data function. And I should see some real-time events come in every minute that this tries to call that function. And so we could leave that open and we could test the other part of it, where if we were to delete all of our bits of content, so we delete those rows, see if we can, we're working against the clock here. We're seeing whether we can do it before the next function runs. So we've deleted all of our records in our Supabase database, and now we're just going to wait for, potentially up to a minute to see when this next request comes in to this API route. Which will hopefully happen soon. Hopefully we don't have to wait the full 59 seconds or something like that. But how are we going in the chat? Everything going well? Anyone have any concerns, questions, shout outs, music requests? I hope that music isn't still looping. I'm pretty sure I turned that off. Let me just check. Yes, I did. Okay, cool. That would be very, very frustrating if it was still looping. All right. So we're not getting our request yet. So maybe let's just go over to Supabase and see if we refresh our series data, has something magical in the background run and added some series data to our Supabase instance. Not yet. So we're still waiting for new requests. Hopefully this is set up correctly. This is listening to our ingest Notion to Supabase function, which is running specifically on this preview deploy. And we still have not received any new requests. We could try running this manually to see whether this is a problem with our Cron schedule or whether this is just a problem with the command that we're giving it. So let's see, we still haven't got any requests. So we can manually send a request over here. So when we were adding in a cron job, this is us scheduling the cron job. But then this here is just a command that we can run anywhere. So we can just run this as its own SQL query. So let's put this in here, and we can call this one manually trigger sync job. Let's save that. And now let's just see, do we have a request? No requests there. So now if we run this request and it succeeds, which it doesn't because there's a syntax error. Okay, cool. So if I add let's just format this slightly so we can see, and maybe we'll tuck this in there. All right, so we're selecting status from HTTP GET, and we're making a request to there, and we've got a semicolon now, which hopefully was all this was missing. Let's see. No, we've still got right, of course, because we have a dangling comma here. And so because this is only one statement, we don't actually need a semicolon. But what we do need is not to add dangling commas, because SQL will be like, no, 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 I do not like that. But everything else will be like, whatever. JavaScript would be like, I don't care. You do whatever you want to do. You're the boss. But yeah, not the case with SQL. We are not in charge. SQL is in charge. All right. So you'll see that we received that request. And then this will have successfully written these records to our database. And so now if we come over to content, we'll see all of our bits of content. So our live API route is working correctly. So let's delete all of these again and delete our series. And now if we have a look at our snippets here, so let's just remove the existing cron job. So we'll get rid of that. And then we want to add a new cron job, and we just need to remove that dangling comma. So our syntax is correct. And now we can check that we have a job that's actually scheduled to run every minute. And then if we come back over here, this would be the last time we ran this. So this is 11:24 when we ran it manually. And remember, we have now cleared out our all of our records from Supabase. And so right now we don't have any content or series data. And so we want to see whether we get that request in. And there we go. All right, I stalled long enough. Awesome. All right, so there's our new request that's come in at 11:26. And if we can't really click on it, we can show details if we want to see details about how long this took to run and how much memory it used, all of those things. But yeah, awesome. So this is now running every minute. And if we come back to our Supabase table editor here, we can check, do we have some series data, which we do, which is good because we just deleted it. And then our content, which we also deleted, is now back. And we have our 47 records. So this looks like it is working correctly. Awesome. So it is 11:26 for me. So we have about half an hour left. Maybe we will look at, it just might take a little while to move these queries across to Supabase. But let's look at doing this for our first page. So what's our most simple page. I reckon if we look at our blog page, so currently in get static paths, we are getting all of the different articles, and then that makes up the different paths that we want. And then in get static props, we're going and grabbing all of our articles that are articles and series articles. We're then making a slug and turning it into what we need. We're then, if it is a series article, then we're going off and getting all of the serieses. So we're basically making an additional request. So if this article belongs to a series, then we are going and fetching all of the articles in that series. Yeah. Why would we be doing that? That's crazy. And so we would go off and get all of the serieses in that article. And then we have articles in series. We then go and get all of the serieses. And oh man, this is so confusing. Okay. Let's start by importing Supabase. That's an easy one. That's what we can do. We can import Supabase from utils/Supabase. Right, and that's as far as I know how to go. Not really. We can do this. All right. So we maybe we don't actually need this to be statically generated anymore, but let's just keep it exactly the same. All right. So the first thing we want to do, which is nice and simple, is we want to go and get all of our articles. And so this URL is just /blog/ the particular slug. So if we want to look at, if we want to look at which page we would currently be looking at, that's one of these. That is just an individual article that exists on its own. So in the URL structure, it exists at /blog/ and then using custom hooks to reduce component complexity. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. My brain's just thinking through the next step. I understand why. Okay. So the reason I was trying to, in the back of my head, try and work out why we were going and fetching all of the other articles. So if we're looking at one article, why would we be going and fetching every other article that exists in that series if it belongs to a series? And that's because if we look at a series article, so here if we looked at hosting on Vercel, you'll see that the URL structure is still /blog/ whatever our slug is, but you'll see we now have this table of contents that we didn't have in the individual piece of content, which displays all of the other blogs that exist within the same series. So we could jump directly to, like, we might go, oh, well, this is a really interesting article, but it's actually part of a series. And so maybe I should start at the start of the series. And so you could come back to tech stack and initial project setup and read through this one first. So there is a difference in how we display an individual article versus an article that's part of a series. Okay, cool. That's fine because we now have Supabase. So we are going to come back up here to our get static paths. And so this is where we need to get a collection of finite paths that we want to build static pages for. So we need to tell, because there are infinite possibilities for what this slug could equal, we need to tell Next.js, this is the finite collection of static pages that I want you to generate ahead of time. Let me just have some water. Sorry, I've been basically talking for like 5 days straight now, trying to record this Level Up Tutorials course. So yeah, I think my voice is getting a little bit strained. Okay, so we need to give it a collection of finite paths. So we can say const data and error. So this is what we're going to get back when we await a call to Supabase. And then we want to say we want to select from the content table because each of these are going to be pieces of content. Yes, that makes sense. And then we want to match on, what do we want to match on? Oh, no, sorry, this is get static parts. So we just want to get all of our bits of content. And so actually, yeah, we do want to match on category. This is an object. What am I doing? So we want to match where the category, I can spell, it's fine, where our category is equal to, cool. I do an or in a match. Interesting. Can I do an or in a match? Supabase. Let's ask Supabase. Supabase, and let's say JS, and let's say match. Cool. So we can match on these, and then this would give us, I guess, an and. So we'd be looking at where the name is Beijing and also the country ID is 156. And if we wanted this to be an or, it doesn't give us any option for this. And that's because we have our own filter for or, which makes me use the ugly syntax. I don't like the ugly syntax. Okay. All right. Or can I pass across multiple equals? Would that give me an or? Actually, maybe if I pass across multiple matches. Let's have a look. Why ask the documentation when you can just randomly try stuff and see if it works? So let's pass across a second match, and let's say maybe we also want to match, or we want to match where the category is equal to series article. This is totally not going to work. If we get an error, then we want to console log out our error dot message. Otherwise, we want to console log our data. And we can leave the rest of this the same. And so we're just making an additional request to Supabase, and let's see what we get back. So here we would want to look at, well, firstly, we would need our development server to actually be running. So let's say npm run dev. And if we come across here and check, is this working? Go to our articles. And hello, DevKJ. How are you? Hope you're enjoying your day. Where are you coming to us from? I'm in Melbourne, Australia. Whereabouts are you? And you've I've seen you on Twitter. You're a cool dude. I am a totally cool dude. I'm a very cool dude. It's an obnoxious thing to say, but yeah. Cool, you're in Jamaica. That's awesome. What time is it over in Jamaica right now? I'm going to guess very late night, like maybe really, really early in the morning, like 3 a.m. kind of early in the morning. Too early to be chiming in, too early to be tuning into streams about dev stuff. 7:36 p.m. That's not bad. What am I talking about? That's a lovely time. That's the perfect time to be coding. Right after dinner, you're feeling good, you've got some energy. Learn something before you go to sleep. All right, cool. So I just wanted to open up one of these articles, and we get a nice big error that data has already been declared. And so that's because we don't want to call this data because we're then using data down here. So let's call this our articles. And yeah, and then we just want to print out our articles so we can see what we get back. So now if we refresh, identify articles has already been declared. All right, fine. I'm just going to call this Supabase data. Supabase data, because we definitely won't have something called Supabase data because we didn't even have Supabase before. All right, so now if we refresh, what is this? Oh yeah, so .from.match is not a function. That's because I need to add a select. And so let's say we want to select all of the columns. So from our content table, we want to select all of the columns, and then we want to match on category article or category series article. And you'll see this has loaded correctly. So we'll just refresh one more time. And then this console log is going to log out to our terminal, if we can find it. So we're getting back an empty array. And so this is because this is becoming an and. So the match is matching on something that has the category of article and also has the category of series article, which doesn't make sense because it can only be one of those things at a time. So we are going to have to use the OR syntax here. And we're going to have to say category dot equals article, I think. And then do we do a comma? See, this is why the syntax is not the best. There's nothing else I can use, is there? Oh yeah, in? Maybe that would be slightly nicer. Oh, that's so much nicer. Okay, perfect. In is what we want. Sick. That's exactly what I want. Supabase. I knew you wouldn't make me use that syntax. I knew there would be a nicer way that I could do this, and it was just because I didn't understand. And that's exactly the case. So I want something where the category is in this array of values. And so I either want it to be article or series article. All right, so this should now give me back, it should select all of the columns from all of our content in, or all of our rows in the content table. And then we want to filter those down by anything that has a category of article or series article. Awesome. And so now if we come back over here and we refresh our page here, and then make sure there aren't any big scary errors, and then come over to our terminal, we are still getting back an empty array. So why do we have an empty array? I think this might be because if we have a look here and we have a look at our content, our content table may have RLS enabled. It does, because that was really smart of me to enable RLS, because that's what we want. We always want to enable RLS. But what this is doing is it's failing this RLS policy because I don't have a policy to enable read actions. And so the way that we can do this properly is because this isn't actually being requested on behalf of a user. This is happening on the server side. So over here in our utils, we're creating a client. So this can be our default client that we can, I'm just trying to think. Yeah. Would I ever? All right. Anyway, what we want to do here is let's export a function called getService Supabase. And this is going to be a function that we can call, which then we'll call createClient, and we'll attempt to create a client with our process. Oh wait, no, this is what this is doing. This is what I was going to say I would do. I was going to say I can use the service key, but we should already be using the service key. So this should be bypassing RLS altogether. Yeah, okay. And I should have a service key in my env because that's how we insert it, because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to insert these records into the database either. I was going down a completely incorrect path. All right, so in this case, there's something wrong with our match statement here. Where is our code? All right, so here, there's something going wrong with our filter here. So I'm going to comment this out for a second and just make sure we're actually getting back some data from Supabase. So if I come here and refresh and come back to my console, I do see a whole bunch of things being printed out. And so my in query was not working to say that this was in series article or article. Supabase, I thought you had my back. Find all rows whose value on the stated column is found in the specified values. So where name is in this, so the column to filter on, the values to filter with. So we want to say if it's in Rio de Janeiro, so Rio de Janeiro is in Brazil, and so it's definitely not in San Francisco. And so this should get back, yeah, so this should be the same thing. So in my category, or where name is in that array, so that should be the same as when I say in, so where category, so this is category, which is a string, and then we pass it an array of object. I see. I've just done this as one big string. Yeah, so this should be two separate strings. So this should be like this. So we want where category is either an article or a series article, then we want to get this back from our query. Awesome. So now if I come back here and we refresh and I go back over to the terminal and scroll down, I should see a collection of things that are either series articles or articles, and we shouldn't have anything else in this list. So here we've got an article, and yeah, this is looking much better. Okay, cool. So now that we have each of those, just quickly, we have more chats. So are you working on your blog site? Yes, I am. So yeah, you may have missed the start of the stream. You probably just dropped in, which is a very confusing place to drop in because we're doing all kinds of stuff here. Lots of intimidating code. So yes, I am working on my blog site. So I have a blog. If I come here, yeah, I have a blog, johnmyers.io, and in here I have a whole bunch of content that is sourced from a Notion board that I have here. And so this is really nice for authoring content, but then when I go to query the content, it has a very verbose syntax for how we grab different things out of the Notion, back from the Notion API. And so I just wanted to spend a little bit of time refactoring this to use Supabase. And so in the previous video and the start of this video, we were looking at building an API route that takes all the information, all the data from all the data from my Notion API and writes it to a new Supabase database. And then we set up a cron job. So we now have every minute we stepped through this Postgres as a cron server guide that Paul wrote, and we have integrated a cron server. So every minute, every minute that API route is being called, and so we're updating, inserting or updating all of our values from the Notion API into Supabase, and so then we have all of our content that was in Notion is now in Supabase. So I have all of this content here, and each of these bits of content has a different category, and so here we are just stepping through how we would actually select that data. Yeah. So I plan to build something with Supabase and SvelteKit. I just don't know what to build yet. Awesome. Yeah, I recommend you go and build something. It depends what you're interested in. Supabase is cool because it gives you auth, it gives you database storage, it gives you real time, and it gives you file storage. So with those four kind of core pieces, you can build a lot of applications. which is why my job as a developer advocate is so much fun, because I'm not sort of limited by something that can only do one thing. Like if it was just auth, for example, then all of my examples would just be stepping through auth, which might get tedious over time. And so, yeah, it's really nice being able to build content around all of those interesting use cases. Because, yeah, you can build some pretty powerful applications with those 4 pieces. So the long version of me saying you should just build something that you're excited to build, something that's fun and something that solves a problem for you. Yeah, you should do that. You should go and build something with Supabase and SvelteKit. Actually, that reminds me that James Quick and Amy Dutton are working on a course currently for actually that exact stack. So they're building an application with Supabase and SvelteKit. So I recommend you check that out. I wonder if they have a page up yet. Let's see. Let's go. James, Quick, Amy, Dutton. Do you have... So we got Compressed FM, which is their podcast, which I highly recommend you check out. And then do they have anything yet up about it? Not sure. All right. Yeah. Maybe go and hit them up on the Twitter sphere and hassle them about a link to their SvelteKit course. Svelte, Supabase, James, Quick, Amy, Burton. If we can use the magic of Google to solve all of our problems. Everything's Svelte. This sounds familiar. This is the one. All right. So this is launching spring 2022. Everything's Svelte, a brand new course they're working on. Everything you need to know to build a modern web application. So if you're interested in that stack, if you want to build something with Supabase and SvelteKit, I highly recommend that you go, and I'm assuming there would be some kind of tell me about it thing. This is very hard to navigate with such a small resolution. Not because of them, because of me. This is my fault. Yeah, want to stay in the know. I recommend you chuck in your first name and email address and join the mailing list so you can find out when that's out. But yes. But in the meantime, just go build something cool that you want to build. Have fun with it. Punctuation bugs that don't generate the syntax error are the hardest. They are. And that's because the reason that this wasn't an error was because it wasn't actually wrong. Like I was the one that was wrong. I'm always the one that's wrong. The computers are always right. But the computer was definitely right in this case, or Supabase was definitely right. It was saying, I trust you to be passing me a query that you actually want to select. So, I mean, if I want to search for something where it's just this whole big string is the category, then it's just basically saying, well, that doesn't match any of the records in the database. So it was doing the right thing by just giving me back nothing. Damn you, Supabase, you're always right. Cool. So what were we doing? We were, so now we have our Supabase data. So here we've grabbed back all of our different objects from the database. And then what do we actually care about? So basically what we have replaced now is all of, well, we also were able to, we're only hosting published content on our in our Supabase database. So we also have got rid of this filter. And so then we want to just map over all of our results. And the only thing that we actually care about here that we want to turn into a slug, well, we don't even need to do this because we have generated our slug back on the server side. Or sorry, when we're ingesting this data into our Supabase database. So we've basically replaced all of this with just this one tiny little block here, which is, yeah, just so cool. And we could go even further with this and say, well, the slug is the only thing that we actually care about. So just give me back a collection of slugs. And then if we will still need to do a little bit of work here to put it in the right shape. So then well, now we could say, now that we've got rid of all of the other stuff that is in our that's in this function, we could now call data. We could just say this is a collection of articles, and we can get rid of this here. And if we have an error, we still want to print it out, because that's always good practice. But then here we could say articles.map, and then we want to map over each article. And for each article, we just want to turn it into a slightly different shape. And so that will be this shape here. So an object with the key params. And so we want params, and we want that to be set to another object, which has our article.slug. So we could even go one step further here. We could destructure slug directly, and then we could put that here. And now if we save this, this should be all we actually need for get static paths. So if we come over to, yeah, that should be right. So now if we come over here and run this again, no, we get an error because paths is not defined. That's because I didn't call it anything. So this needs to be const paths equals articles.map over each article and turn it into that shape. And now if we refresh, we're now seeing this article, which means everything is all good. Awesome. Yeah, sweet. And one more, I'm more of a blog reader type of guy. I'm too afraid to fall into tutorial hell again. Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, tutorial hell, not a good place to be. Yeah, it's always a good idea to take what you've learned in a tutorial or a blog and try to implement it in a slightly different way, so you can kind of understand the design decisions that were made there for the article. Yeah, good call. So I recommend you, now that you've watched part of this stream, well, yeah, a lot of it's not really relevant because there's so much Notion API stuff, but yeah, maybe go and build a blog. If you're a blog reader type of person, maybe you should try being a blog writer type of person, and see if you also could, see if you also enjoy writing blogs, because then you would have a blog that you could go off and build, and then you could even go super meta and write articles about how you created your blog. Yeah, that would be a very awesome use case for Supabase and SvelteKit. And you can do, that's what I'm doing right here. I have I'm creating content, creating streams about working on my blog. Yeah, rather than writing articles on my blog, which is what I really should be doing. All right, so cool. So this is now working. So we've been able to replace this whole big scary block here with just this really simple, like we can see it all on the one screen. We don't even have to scroll down, even though our resolution is tiny at the moment. We can see it all here. It's just, yeah, so much nicer. That querying, that querying statement is just so much more concise. All right, so we're probably just gonna, only got like 5 more minutes. That's fine. We can keep going a little bit, because I want to finish off this page, I think. Let's see. Oh, this might be, all right, this is too much. Yeah, we should call it before we jump into a big deep hole. But yeah, this get static props function is now the only thing using the Notion API. So here we're now selecting from Supabase. And so, yeah, maybe in the next stream, we'll jump into refactoring this part over, and then we'll slowly refactor all of the different pages that select data from Notion until we get to a point where we're not actually using the Notion API in any way for our blog. So selecting data, which will be a much nicer place, because as you can see, this get static paths is a nice short function here where we can quickly scan over it and just understand what's going on. But this get static props function, it just keeps going on and on and on and on and on and on. And a lot of this is just because because of how we have to query documents across, like related documents across different databases, the way that we need to do that in Notion is just very verbose. But yeah, the way that we can do it in Supabase, because we have that relationship baked into our database itself, and relationships are baked into the query language, so we can really easily, like here we're just selecting from content, but if we wanted to get like the related series or whatever, we could get all of the columns from there as well. That is not the right syntax, but yeah, it's very easy to select data across multiple tables, because a relational database is completely built around those relationships and being able to access bits of data that are spread across different tables. Awesome. So I guess to just quickly recap, what did we start on today? We started refactoring or not refactoring. We completed our ingest Notion to Supabase function, and so we had a few different bits that we had to write to transform the data into the right shape for each one of these different categories, because each one has a slightly different shape. We could also we could definitely condense this down, because we have common fields between all of these different categories. In fact, that's what I probably should do. Maybe I'll do that off stream because it's not very fun, but or it's not very interesting. But we could definitely take these properties that exist for every single category type. So every single one has an ID, a title. Not everyone has a slug, but everyone has a description, publish date, category, and MDX. So we could abstract out all these common bits of data that exist no matter what the category is. We could move those up the top here with our title and our category. And then for each one that has a unique piece, so for example, a series article has a series ID and a position in series, we could just declare those properties that are different. So I might refactor this so it's a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to read, and we don't have that repeated logic over and over and over and over again. And then maybe at the start of the next stream, I'll just take you through what I did there. So then once we finished our ingest Notion to Supabase function, we then had something that would take all of this data from Notion and write it all to Supabase. And so then we just needed to set up a cron server. And so we followed this guide by Paul to turn our Supabase instance into a cron server. And so if we come over here and select all of our existing jobs, we currently have one job that's running every minute, and it's doing this big command, which we can't even see here, but if we wanted to look here, it's running this chunk of SQL every minute, which is making a HTTP GET request to our current hosted Vercel app and going to our new ingest Notion to Supabase function, which is then going and performing that upsert. So grabbing all of those values from the Notion database and writing them into Supabase, which then allowed us to start refactoring how we're actually querying data for our blog page, so that we could refactor it into this nice short function where we're querying from Supabase instead of querying from Notion. Awesome. I think that's everything. I think in the next one we will be, looking at what we'll be looking at. What are we doing? What are we even doing here? In the next one, we'll probably be writing, moving across all of our querying logic from Notion to Supabase and seeing all of the other very strange, confusing design decisions that I made when building this blog. When I had a lot of context on the problems that I was trying to solve, and we'll see if we can resolve them live in the stream. If this is your first time playing with Supabase, I recommend that you go and check out my free Egghead course. And so I, a couple of months ago, built hey, 100 people have completed it now. Yay, I was waiting for that. But yeah, a couple of months ago, I created this build a SaaS product with Next.js, Supabase, and Stripe course. It's entirely free on egghead.io. So I recommend you go and check that out, because it basically takes you through from an empty project all the way through to having a real live in production SaaS product that allows you to earn real money. So we look at building this with Next.js, Stripe, and Supabase, and I highly recommend you check that out as a starting point. Also, come and keep me company on Twitter and follow me at twitter.com/JohnMyers_IO. I probably tweet about Supabase too much, but I also tweet about other things and put out cool content. And so, yeah, come check me out there. Thanks heaps for watching the stream, and I will see you next week. Actually, one more thing. We'd be jumping in at the halfway point now, but if you're looking for something to do now and you like Supabase and want to see some cool stuff, go over to this stream, build a real-time... Oh, it's happening right now. So my friend Thor, one of the other developer advocates at Supabase, is stepping through building a game, a real-time multiplayer networked game with Replit, and Replit have built a game engine, a game framework called Kaboom.js. So it's a JavaScript library that you can use to build cool games. So I recommend you jump over there. I'm not sure if I can push the broadcast directly to there, but I can give you a link to that stream. So I recommend you jump over there and go see some more cool stuff about Kaboom.js and Supabase. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.